Hello, friends. This is Dr. Devendra Sera show, my show, and you have joined it. I am grateful to you for that. I am going to discuss about what is the latest regarding artificial sweeteners. These are also known as non-nutritional sweeteners. Actually, British and Americans, they have a way of playing down things. They are not called fake sweeteners, they are called artificial sweeteners. And why I am going to discuss it today is because today is 4th of June, Sunday. And on 15th of May, this year only, that is only 3 weeks back approximately, WHO, the World Health Organization, the largest health body concerning human health, have issued guidelines that artificial sweeteners are bad and they should not be used by non-diabetic people for many reasons. Because not only they do not help in reducing weight or they are helpful in maintaining weight, but they may be causing, or they are rather causing, sudden deaths. They are causing type 2 diabetes and they are leading to cardiovascular mortality. It is a big news, but I am really surprised that no media attention has been given to it. There are no debates on it. On the one hand, we keep on talking about resurgence of diabetes in the world, diabetes coming as a pandemic in the world, India being the capital of diabetes in the world, that India creates more diabetics than the population of Australia every year. And nobody regarding this is discussing this topic, that WHO has banned artificial sweeteners, or they are not banned, they are nobody to ban, but they have given guidelines that they should not be used by people who are not diabetic. Regarding diabetics, they have not issued any guidelines because they studied the cases or the review articles where the patients were not of diabetes, but they were general public. What happened? There is a lot of controversy in literature regarding artificial sweeteners. About 10 years back, animal studies showed that they may be causing diabetes and they may be harmful. And those studies were continuing. And based upon more than 283 meta-analysis regarding use of artificial sweeteners, where they were found to be deleterious, WHO has said that they should not be used. What is my personal take on it, and why should they not be used? Because I have never advised artificial sweeteners to my patients. I ask them even to eat mangoes, and I ask them sugars in proper natural form, but though in restricted amount. And I know many of my patients must be listening to it and they can vouch for it. Because, friends, insulin is secreted in 3 important ways. One is the phase of brain. It is secreted from hypothalamus, that is known as cephalic phase of release of insulin. The moment you start thinking of food, as saliva comes in our mouth, as they say, muh mein pani aa gaya, there's a cephalic phase of insulin which starts. And this cephalic phase of insulin leads to feeling of hypoglycemia. And this stays at least for 10 minutes. And by the time you are eating, insulin has already started being released in our system before food enter our intestine. Number 2 is release of insulin when our food touches the intestinal gut. And that is by increase of blood glucose, the cycle where ATP gets more than, is become more than ADP, and when potassium channel constrict. The third is the GLP-1 release form, that is G protein coupled receptors. Now, when you eat artificial sweeteners, imagine yourself as a bridegroom on your honeymoon night and you're waiting for the bride. She comes to the room, she looks beautiful, but before removing her attire, she removes her dentures, she removes her contacts, and she removes her wig and you find her to be bald. How do you feel? Our body must be feeling the same. Our insulin in the body must be feeling the same when fake nutritioners are given. And when they eat them, when the person eats them, then the whole system gets haywire. This is what I wanted. The number two is the now 100% research proven that as per Israel's research, scientists from Israel, that they change the microbiota of our body system. Now, what are microbiota? Our intestines are full of millions of bacteria. Most of them are good for us, but certain bacteria are not good for us. That is why antibiotics should be used with caution, and we try to give probiotics, which are good bacteria for the intestine. That is why what we say in Hindi, jaisa an vaisa man. Whatever we eat, our intestine gets same bacteria, and even our thought process changes the same way. And it is known that most of the intestinal bacteria are also responsible for depression. And nowadays it is coming that intestinal bacteria also determine whether we become diabetic or not. It is known that when fecal matter from a diabetic is transplanted into colon of a normal person, the normal person may become a diabetic because of bacteria. So that is why this research was conducted in Israel, and they found that by giving these non-nutritional sweeteners, the intestinal bacteria changed. And they changed in such a way that they became inflammatory for the intestinal cells. And this led to person becoming a pre-diabetic, or in other language, it becoming glucose intolerant. Not only that, when the fecal matter from these volunteers was transplanted into mice, which were bred in such a way that they did not have any bacteria in their intestine, those mice, those rats, they became glucose intolerant, or they became pre-diabetic. So this research was very much in news about 8 to 9 years back, and after that, now WHO has given this warning that these non-nutritional sweeteners, these fake sweeteners, should not be used by general public. And are you aware that the business of these non-nutritional sweeteners is more than 1 lakh crore? I'll repeat, 1 lakh crore every year, and it is expected to go down to about 1,25,000 crores in next 2 to 3 years. You eat bread in the morning, you eat any biscuit, you eat jam, you eat anything, you just see the bakery product, they have written natural sugar derivatives. And people get confused talking stevia as a normal leaves. They think of leaves, but when stevia is processed, it becomes the same as aspartame, it becomes the same as saccharin, and it becomes same as sucralose. That is why WHO has included stevia also in their guidelines. So this is a very important point which we all must know. One more point I would like to say is that WHO has said that sugars, if they are to be taken, should be taken in mild, in moderation, and preferably fruit should be preferred over any non-nutritional sweeteners. So this point is most important, which is not being discussed the way it should be discussed internationally. Because on the one hand, we say that there's an epidemic of diabetes throughout the world. On the other hand, we do not talk about the reason which is causing this epidemic. This is something which should be there in media debates, and WHO has said about normal population. It has excluded diabetic population. They can still use these non-nutritional sweeteners. But why? Because WHO has not studied about these patients who are taking non-nutritional sweeteners and who are diabetics. Their studies were only on non-diabetic, normal people, which most of us, doctors also, patients also, are there. So this was the message I wanted to give you, that these non-nutritional sweeteners should be not taken by anybody if you want to follow WHO guidelines. I'll like to see that whenever propaganda, these conferences held, and when some pharma company tries to promote something, whether there's a negative influence of these sugar making companies, that these artificial sugar making companies, whether they'll try to stop these conferences which are there regarding these non-nutritional sweetener side effects. So this is all which was my take on it. And thank you so much for my patient listening. And I'd like to ask and request all of you to share this message if you find it important to your relations, to your all the people you like, and either you like or dislike, but don't leave me in between. And that is all I'd like. Thank you so much.